That's your name, man. Alexander Hamilton.
It's got to be a real pleasure to revisit your performance from 2016. With the benefit of fresh eyes and ears, and considering what was actually captured on screen for viewers, what are you particularly proud of in terms of your performance or your creative contribution? Lin-Manuel, let's start with you.
I probably watch myself least in the movie than anybody else. Honestly, I have this weird double vision when I watch the movie because I remember my very particular point of view inside the thing. So when I watch the movie, I'm glorying in all the things I couldn't appreciate from on stage. I'm watching what Renee and Jasmine are talking about on the second level. I'm laughing knowing what dirty thing Jonathan Groff is saying as he's walking upstage and I am walking downstage between You'll Be Back and Right Hand Man. And I'm enjoying all the things I couldn't see from inside the eye of the hurricane. It's hard to critique my performance because for better or worse, what you are seeing is a year of rehearsal for the movie you saw. So it is what audiences saw. I think this company's electric. I don't think it's an accident that so many of them have gone on to success in film and TV because they are just as grounded and real when Tommy's camera is here as they are from 20 feet away. And I'm just really proud.
You are very generous and very humble, but there has to be something about your performance that you do like watching on screen, though. Right?
I guess I'm better at the dance in my shot than I was in the early rehearsal footage where I'm very much not doing the same steps as everybody else. It took me a year, but I think I learned the moves, Andy's incredible choreography.
You definitely did. That is sure. Thomas, what about you? When you watch that now, like what jazzes you up?
The opportunity to take some of the cinematic language that had inspired me and that I had cultivated over time and try to apply it to this group of storytellers was the thing that I thought about the most. How do I honor this group that did this show 8 times a week, hundreds of performances? And so, I don't know that I watch it and think of a moment that I made that makes me proud more than the totality of it. Just the fact that the show exists, that it should not be, and yet it is. And I'm struck by that every time I see it. And I think that the film creates a little bit of that sense of wonder, just that this group of performers was able to come together, this group of designers with this text in that moment. And I feel like I kind of macro out and feel very proud to have been a part of it.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to be really proud to actually share in this joy now on screen. One thing that I really want to mention is that, the show is celebrated across the world because it reminds viewers to celebrate their own identity and their own power. It gives them some type of recognition of that. I want to know what TV show or movie did that for you growing up.
The Wonder Years. For me, it was Kevin Arnold. Like I saw that and I was like, oh, that sort of smart ass kid who doesn't really know very much.
Well, it's funny because I think my career as a writer began because I saw so little representation. I loved musicals and I was able to relate to all kinds of musicals that didn't necessarily include Latinos in the storytelling. And I knew I would never dance well enough to play Bernardo in West Side Story. And if you're a Puerto Rican guy, that's kind of it for a long time. And so In the Heights was my way of writing what was missing. And it came out of my realization that no one will write your dream show for you. You have to create your own opportunities. And so I'm knocked flat when I meet folks, one of whom is Anthony Ramos, by the way, who was like, I was going to give up a musical theater. Like I related to them in an intellectual way. And In the Heights was the first time he felt like he saw his family on stage. I'm knocked flat by that because I was writing I felt like I was writing to what was missing in my own childhood. I remember seeing Spy Kids my senior year of college at the Distinta Theater in Middletown, Connecticut, Tommy. And being like, if this movie had been around, these 2 little Latino kids who saved the world, when I was a kid, I'd be president right now. I wouldn't be talking to you about a musical. But I didn't have that as a kid, like at all.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And that can still be a musical. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
All right. But thanks so much. Great talking to you guys. You've got to be excited to revisit your performances from 2016. With the benefit of fresh eyes and ears, like watching yourself on screen has got to be a real kick. But I got to ask you, David, what is the thing you're most proud of when you look at yourself?
I haven't watched it yet, so I can't tell you. I'm terrified to watch it. I actually do not want to watch my performance from 2016, but I do want to watch everybody else's performance. I'm going to get over myself, but I haven't yet.
Thinking of your legs.
That's not going to happen anytime soon, though, by the way.
It might.
It's just not.
David, is there a favorite moment of your performance looking back?
Oh man, this is the whole thing. This is wrapped into the reason I don't like watching myself. I don't exist that way. I don't remember moments in my performance. I do remember like the umpteenth time Chris Jackson made me cry when he was singing One Last Time. You know, like I remember so many moments that everybody else did that were brilliant. The moments of my own that I remember are the times that I dropped lines or like, you know, like did really dumb things on stage. Like those are the ones that stick out for me. So that's all wrapped up in the same. I'm in therapy for.
That's fair. That's totally admirable. Chris, what about you? What are you most proud of?
That I survived it. That I survived the run.
Hey,
I don't mean that with any sense of irony. Like I put every ounce of my being into it until I got to a point where I didn't know if I would physically be able to hold up any longer. I'm really proud that I got to make something incredible with my friends, and that my grandchildren will know that I was in this show. It's definitely a generational type of experience, and I feel really fortunate that it's been preserved in this kind of very, very special way. This isn't a Lincoln Center archival recording. This is a film. And I'm really proud that my friends did something really awesome and I got to be a part of it.
You know, I think everyone agrees. I think one of the reasons why everyone thinks Hamilton is awesome also is that it's helped audiences celebrate their own identities and rediscover their own power. I want you to think of a movie or TV show growing up that did that for you. Chris, do you want to start?
Man, that's a tall order. TV didn't always do that. Wasn't meant to do that in the 80s, right? I know the A-Team made me feel like there were good guys in the world, you know, and Different Strokes made me feel special because, you know, Willis's last name, was Jackson. You know what I mean? So there was no shortage of, yeah, that's my cousin, right? We're cousins, you know. When I was younger, all of those Norman Lear show, though, those things kind of stick out too. But I don't know, man. This is such a unique kind of thing because it incorporates everything that I love the most artistically. It's all of the music that make up, you know, who I am. And it's some of the best lyrical, you know, writing that I've ever heard. And my friends did it.
Totally.
You know?
David, you were itching to answer the question. Did you have a TV show or movie?
Oh, no, I was thinking what a tough question that is. I mean, like, does anyone remember Hanging with Mr. Cooper? Because look, you know, Mark Kirk, that's Oakland. That was super specific to me. Like that was a TV show set. He lived by the lake. Like I used to live where his house was. So like that was very specific to me and sort of important developmentally. But I think all of my heroes are like weird regional rappers. Those are my superheroes, right? All my superheroes are rappers.
With the benefit of fresh eyes and ears, I'm wondering, based on what you see on screen, what is the thing you're most proud of? Alex, let's start with you.
Wow, that's a great question. You know, I watched the film and I can't help but be flooded with the memories of what went into creating it. And for whatever reason, maybe this is just the way I perceive it because having been there, I watched the film and I have memories of being at the piano and sitting with my collaborators and figuring out a moment or you know, being in front of the band and watching when this happens. And you know, I watch the film and I just see moments happen and then I associate everything that went into that. And that to me is something that I'm just really proud of. And it just fills me up in a really, in a way that's hard to describe because I really, I acknowledge that the experience of the show and that the impact that it's had and that the attention that it's gotten, it feels like a once in a lifetime occurrence to me. And I just savor it and I treasure it. And I try to be present as much as I can. And I feel like even back in the days during In the Heights, I remember thinking to myself every day, like, hey, you're getting to do what you love. You're working on something that's very special. Remember this. And I felt like I carried that with me in Hamilton as well.
That's amazing. Andy, you were able to develop a whole language of movement that has like translated across countries. What are you proud of the most?
You know what is interesting? When you asked that question and Alex started in, something hit me that it's very much in human nature to try to find an answer. Like even knowing we have a deadline of making a show, you have to make decisions because you have to open the show. But in revisiting the show, maybe the things I'm most proud of in the show are the moments of theatricality that are actually about questioning, that are about uncertainty, because that's part of our human condition, that we are confused, that we don't have an answer, but we're desperate to find our way forward. And that makes the show very topical right now. But some of my favorite moments are the Federalist Papers, Obedient Servant, these moments in the show that are about saying, I feel lost as a human, and I know it's important to find my way. And I think that to be able to physicalize that, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of being able to open a conversation that says, I don't have an answer. And I think the audiences who see the show starting next week, the show's going to resonate with them in a new way about, as we face our world today, we don't have answers. But we are in it together and we're going to find answers. But you first have to admit, I don't have an answer. I'm Alexander Hamilton and I don't know how to finish the Federalist paper.
Yeah, I love that. And it kind of segues into my next question, because I think another reason Hamilton is really celebrated is that it's helped audiences really celebrate their own identities and discover their own power or rediscover their own power. I want you to think of a movie or TV show when you were growing up that did that for you. Andy, we'll start with you.
I got it. I got two, and they came out at the same time. White Knights and the Chorus Line film. I remember growing up on Chorus Line, and some people might think the Chorus Line film is flawed or great or whatever your point of view is, but I was 14 years old, and I saw people up on the big screen singing about not having answers, about, the amazing Greg Burge dancing a solo like I've never seen a person dance before. And that sense of yearning that was in both Chorus Line and White Knights made me A, want to be a dancer, and B, process life through dancing. And I learned that very luckily at about 14 years old.
Alex, what about you?
Great answers, Andy. It's funny. I can't point to a singular TV show, for example, but I can say that being a child of the MTV era, just seeing music all the time was so important to me, because I was just a pop music fanatic, and being able to ingest that kind of information. Like, I know for me, seeing like Eddie Van Halen playing the guitar and looking into the camera, like it made me think, oh my God, that's where I want to be. I want to be on that stage performing and doing this for a living. So all this to say, like, I think that the exposure of music and seeing that medium expressed in that way, it just influenced me, I would say.
When you look back at 2016 at your performance, what about it makes you most proud when you watch it? Jasmine, we'll start with you.
I'm most proud of everything that we went through and everything that was thrown our way, like good and bad, and coming together and performing even when we don't feel our best, but giving it like all that we could give 8 times a week, and supporting each other and holding each other up, and all of the, even watching it back, seeing the beautiful performances, but also knowing everything that's happening backstage, and who was crossing who, and who gave, the other person uplifting words when they weren't feeling that well, like all of that stuff, just the support and the love, and everybody just giving it all the time. That is what I'm most proud of.
Leslie, what about you? Is there any part of your performance that you're really proud of?
Well, I don't know if Jay-Z made up this quote, but I heard him say it. So I don't know if he was quoting someone, but he says, and I'm paraphrasing the quote, but he says something like, when you stand in your light and you have the courage to be all that God has created you to be, you inspire someone else to do the same thing. So like it's really like a charge, it's a challenge to you, like to be your greatest self, because it's like that in it and of itself is like an act of rebellion, and it can inspire someone else to do the same thing, to be all that they can be. And when I look back at 2016, I was all that I could be in that moment. I was all that I could be. I would hope that, I'm better today, that I'm smarter, that I'm more skillful, that I've learned something, So I would hope that I just get better with time. But I know that in 2016, I was all that I could be.
Renee, what about you?
Oh, I'm proud of. Here's the thing about doing a show: you're doing so much more than what you see on the stage.
Right.
We were, we had families we were raising, and we were our own family that we were trying to raise, and we were trying to give birth to, this phenomenon, and we were trying to be worthy of it. We were trying to be responsible over it. And I'm proud that, that I did it. Do you know what I mean? I'm proud that I did it with this group of people. I'm proud that I'm proud of the love that we gave each other. And I think that it's evident when you see the film that we were fighting for each other always, even more than we were fighting for ourselves. I think that is the way we're supposed to work and sing and live. And I think we did it. And I think it's evident in that film. And I'm very proud of that.
Awesome. One last quick question, just really quick answers here. If there's a classic TV show or movie that you want to make a hip hop version of, what would it be? Leslie.
Either I Love Lucy or The Honeymooners.
Renee.
All in the Family.
Yo.
Yeah. Jasmine.
My favorite movie of all time, The Fifth Element.
Ooh, that's interesting. All in the Family would be amazing as a hip hop.
That'd be an amazing hip hop, especially if the Jeffersons were still down the street. Come on.
You bring in Maude, you bring in it'd be crazy.
Ooh, you can have all kinds of families. Jewish family over here, Black family over there. You know what I'm saying? That's a real conversation in hip hop.
It's got to be exciting to revisit your performance from 2016. Now that you had the benefit of time and some fresh ears and eyes, what is it about your performance on screen that you're really, really proud of?
I don't know. I think I did a good job of making Mulligan and Madison very different people. And now being on the other side, being able to watch it, that's what I'm most proud of, is that they do feel like two completely different entities in terms of movement, sound, everything. So I guess that's the thing I'm most proud of.
Is there a favorite moment in the movie that for you while watching it?
Two moments: Pips during Helpless and Wait for It.
Why is that?
Because she's doing so when people see, she's doing so much. I never got to see it because I was always backstage, but she's doing like 1,000 things and her voice like doesn't waver. It is clear as a bell. And then Leslie doing Wait for It because he's just a damn monster. It's really ridiculous what he does with that song.
A lot of ridiculous things and a lot of ridiculous, amazing things about your performance too. But what are you particularly proud of that was captured on screen here for viewers?
Gosh. I'm really proud of, I think like what Oak was saying, the stamina and just level of groundedness that I tried to maintain during that time. It was my first Broadway show. My life was blossoming in all sorts of different ways simultaneously as this Hamilton extravaganza was happening. So I really wanted to make sure that when I came out there that it like just stayed grounded and on Eliza's energy level. And I think I managed to do that pretty well.
You did.
That's a fair statement.
Amazing castmates that kept me grounded in that way.
Now, can you pinpoint a moment in the show that's not necessarily yours, but actually grabs you at the heartstrings whenever you see it or think about it?
Well, let me brag on Oak for a second, because from what I saw from Oak in that moment and that burst of energy, like always got me so excited about being in this show, like 100%. I was like, I'm in the coolest show ever when he would come out. And then in Act 2, seeing you transform like on a physical, like DNA level of like finding that other character is just it's such a high skilled thing to be able to do. And so like getting to see that in the film and really like watch that was so incredible, because that's not easy and you make it look like very flawless. So
amazing. One last question for the both of you, and we'll go back to you on this one. One of the reasons why Hamilton is celebrated across the world is that it's helped audiences celebrate their own identities and recognize their own power. I want you to think of a movie or a TV show growing up that did that for you.
Ragtime. Now that it's on my head, the character of Cole House Walker Jr., if people aren't familiar with it, it takes place in turn of the century. And he's a black man, he has a car, and he experiences racism. His wife gets killed, and eventually he dies. But that character never once bowed his head. At a time when he was the only man who rode, he walked into a White House and said, I want to see my wife. Where is she? Just the fact that no matter what, he never relented in terms of how high his head was held. That totally influenced me as a human and a performer.
And Phillipa, did you have one?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of Asian stories, I feel like the first time that I was ever familiar with an Asian director was seeing Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, directed by Ang Lee, and just how beautiful that film was. It was the first time that I was aware that someone of Asian descent was directing a film, and it was a completely Asian cast. I think like I was also at an age where like I was starting to recognize that in myself and who I am and my culture and where I come from. But certainly as I got older, like seeing that like how few and far between moments there were that I could actually see that and see the work by an Asian director was really powerful.
It's amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thanks again. Great talking to you.